Well, Ralph Michaels is going to lead us off. He's got a chart. We're going to compare run lines versus money lines, home and away. That should provide some interesting insight for us in MLB big picture. He's also going to look at some MLB little picture, talk about the Marlins and the Pirates. Pittsburgh, the coldest team in baseball right now, losers of 10 straight. Ralph's going to break that down, as well as one in the NBA, the Dallas Wings and the LA Sparks. So we'll talk some MLB, some WNBA, and a chart with Ralph Michaels. Andy Lang's going to join us next. UFC, he's going to talk Austin Lane against Justin Taffa. We're going to talk some NFL. He's got a player prop on Cooper Kupp you're going to want to pay attention to. And then, of course, we have Arthur DiCesare to close out the show. There's virgin numbers that have just been bet into for college football. I'm going to talk to Arthur about college football. We'll find out what's going on in the early NFL marketplace, as well as MLB. In the the betting strategy segment, the BS segment, we'll talk about playing a game where you like the dog to win. How much do you put plus the points? How much do you put on the money line? Excellent question from Oven Fresh, as Steve and I will break that down as well. So, yeah, loaded Friday edition. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, I'm trying to count up all the different sports we're talking about alone, at least 4 or 5 different sports when we throw in the football questions as well with Arthur here. So it's a loaded summer edition. And it is officially summer as of 2 days ago when I last saw Teddy. It's become summer. It might be baseball season, but a lot of other sports to talk about daily here on WagerTalk Today. And let's bring in Ralph Michaels, Stat Daddy, the human database, father of Jeff. So many nicknames for you, Ralph. I love it. And let's get right to it. We got a lot to talk about. Chart. Run line versus money line, home and away. Break it down for us, Ralph.
Well, as we do with all charts, guys, as you know, I will post this on Twitter, so there's a lot of data. But there's 3 things I want to go over on this chart. Number one, you hear a lot of people say, well, I don't want to bet a run line at home because I get one less at bat. Well, guess what, guys? Vegas knows that, and the lines are different. So over to the right, let's take a look at how much difference there is. You see this chart is broken since 2018. The top line is minus 170 to minus 180, then minus 180 to minus 190, minus 190 to 200. So I took very specific terms to make the lines very equal. So take a look at the right on that diff column. When you're betting an away favorite on the run line, it's a 64-cent difference. When you're betting them at home, it's an 88-cent difference. So Vegas is bringing in that last at bat. At home, you're getting 24 cents more from minus 180 to minus 190. You're getting 27 cents more minus 190 to 200. You're getting 25 cents more minus 200 to minus 210. So number one, when you're betting a home team on the run line, you're getting better odds than you are on the road. So if you like what you're playing, it's not a reason not to play it. So the chart, away favorites to the left, home favorites to the right, broken down by line. You see the deep red with white text, and you see the green text. Those are situations where the return on investment is at least plus 4% or minus 4% or higher. So the one thing you will notice is it is better off when you are a home favorite to lay the number on the money line. Look at the return on investments to the right-hand side. Money line minus 170 to minus 180 better, 180 to 190 better, 190 to 200 better, 200 to 210 better. Every situation all the way down for a home favorite, it is better to lay the number with the money line than the run line. On the left-hand side, you see that away favorites have been very profitable. Look at all those greens from minus 210 down. 7.0 return on investment, 2.0, 13.0, 12.9, 4.0. There's that weird gap in the middle. Away favorites, successful from minus 170 to minus 190. They're a negative from minus 190 to minus 210, sort of an anomaly. So, again, rule number one, home favorites is better to lay the
Well,
Sorry
Ralph,
about
you're
that.
back. There you go. No, you're good. You're back.
Again, there are a few spots as a big away favorite that the run line is more profitable than the money line. But overall, take a look at the chart. There's a reason MLB favorites are 210 or more. Look at the home, look at the way, look at all the green and no red on those big MLB favorites. So if people say, why would you bet MLB favorites, big MLB favorites? This chart is showing you exactly why.
sure. I mean, you look at the road chalk, it stands out like a sore thumb. You look at the home chalk, it stands out like a sore thumb. Your favorites, 220, 240, 260, 280, where people start to get reluctant to back them. That's what Ralph is showing. The database is clearly showing that's where the value is. But if you could just pop that chart up one more time real quick for me for my follow-up question. Ralph, when we talk about, you started the whole conversation with the run line versus the money line and how bettors kind of know that the home team doesn't get that last at bat. And in theory, it's supposed to be priced in. But what we see when you look at those home favorites, the run line, negative, far more negative than the money line, with the home favorites of less than $2. That's what kind of stood out to me, is that the conventional wisdom is right. You don't want to lay a run and a half with a home team unless you're $2 or higher. Is that a takeaway that you came away with this chart as well, Ralph?
Yeah, absolutely, Teddy. And I didn't clarify that point, but you are correct. There are situations where it's built in, but look at the negatives minus. Look at favorites, 170 to 190. It's minus 14, minus 180, and minus 19. Significant, minus 14.3% return on investment. That's one of the biggest numbers on the chart. But even at home, take a look at the money line and the run line, how much better the return on investment is on that top line than the bottom. Every single category at home has a better return on investment on the money line than the run line.
Yeah, and Ralph, before we move on to a game for Friday night, I want to ask just one follow-up. I mean, first of all, it is priced in, but it's not priced in enough, obviously, because you can see that, it's underperformed the money lines. But the other thing, too, is it just looks like away favorites have been a better bet in general, both money line and run line, than home favorites, too, during this span over the last 5 years or so. But I want to ask you real quick, there's a large split when we start getting to these big money line favorites in baseball, just kind of a database question in general. What kind of split are you using? What kind of consensus line? I mean, because is this like a 20-cent line? Is it minus 220 plus 200 still? Or is it, a 30 or 40-cent line? Because obviously with some of the more public sports books now, the split gets pretty wide on these big favorites.
Steve, these numbers are with the actual splits from the line. So I am not guesstimating anything. You see that, let's look at the 260 to 280 favorites. When you're betting the money line, it's minus 265. When you're betting the run line, it's minus 154. But they are the traditional splits, and they go as high as 80 cents when you're getting those 300 favorites. So these are legitimate splits from the majority of the sports books, the consensus legitimate splits. It's not using a 10 cents, and it's using a fair line when you get to the high vig. So there's nothing I formulated. It's using the actual numbers.
Right. That's very important. That's great to hear, because obviously you don't want to find like the absolute best split in the world that a lot of people can't get. So these are very consensus numbers, and these are lines. If you shop around and have 2 or 3 outs, like we preach that you should be able to have these same results as well long term. All right, Ralph, let's transfer over to some actual info for tonight on Friday. What are you looking at in MLB?
Well, this is a game that I said I'm going to play first 5 minus a half, minus 120 on Miami. And the more I broke it down for the show, I went ahead and played the full game and laid the 178 price in this game. You want to talk about hot versus cold. As Teddy said, Pittsburgh has lost 10 straight games. Well, they were actually a pick in one of those games against Milwaukee when Keller was on the mound. In the other 9 games as a dog, they've lost each of those games by 2 or more runs. Their average score in this 10-game slide, 6.9 to 2.4. You look at Ortiz, a 5.50 road ERA and a 1.94 whip. In his road starts, his last 5, he's allowed 6 runs, 3 runs, 3 runs, 4 runs, and he did allow 1 run in 1 start. But that was 4 2/3 innings against Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's hitting worse than everyone in baseball except Pittsburgh. Marlins absolutely crushing the ball. They are batting .305 the last 7 days. On the flip side, Pittsburgh batting .144, and I don't know if I've seen a slump this bad. In their last 8 games, they have not topped 6 hits. So 8 straight games with 6 hits or less. So you have weak bats against red hot bats. Also, you look at the mental. Pittsburgh came in yesterday. Keller on the mound. First game of a series. He goes 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 run. Pittsburgh leading 2-1. Then they score 2 more runs in the top of the 8th. They're leading. And what happens? They're leading 4-1. They allow 5 runs in the bottom of the inning and they lose that game. And the Marlins, 22-11. Not a great record as a favorite, but they have learned to win as a sizable favorite this year. They are 16-1 when they are a favorite of -140 or higher, winning those games by 3.23 runs per game. Color me the Marlins tonight to take care of business. And one odd thing, guys, I just want to share this. It doesn't apply to tonight, but I went to the database. When I looked at teams that are on at least a 10-game losing streak, game 1 of a series, they are actually profitable, 55-56. That's going back the last 12 years. So when a team is on a losing streak, game 1 of a series, they've been profitable. Game 2, they've been bad. Game 3, they've been horrendous. So interesting thought there. It doesn't apply to this team tonight, but just when teams are on that bad of a streak, there is a semi-reset to game 1 of a series.
Just real quick, Ralph, how much do you trust Jesus Luzardo? Because here's a guy who literally has been one good start, one bad start, one good start, one bad start, one good start, one bad start since like early May.
Yeah.
And he's coming off he's coming off a good start against the Nats. But literally, look at the Marlins: 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss. When he's going, they're all blowouts. There hasn't been one close game in the bunch since the first one. When you see one of those scenarios, you put a lot of thought into it. Is it something that this guy's so when a pitcher is consistently inconsistent, is that a concern for you?
Yeah, that's really why I didn't mention many of his stats, Teddy. It's not I'm basing it on him, but I'm just basing it on the team, the way they're hitting, the way the opponent's hitting, and the way the opponent's pitching. So obviously, if Luzardo was a little more consistent, Miami with the record they have, and Pittsburgh with the record they'd have, this would be a 250 game. But you're getting value playing the inconsistent guy, saving almost 70 cents.
It's Ralph Michaels, Stat Daddy, The Pin, Human Database, father of Jeff. I've added a 4th nickname today. I'm proud of myself here, Ralph. Hey, look, if you guys like this baseball data, Ralph and I are going to try to put together some weekend videos here throughout the summer, and we need some content ideas, maybe some questions for some research for some trends and angles. If you want to see more charts, leave it in the live chat right now, or once again, leave it in the comments below here on the replay on YouTube. Some baseball ideas that we can talk about over the weekend here on some videos on WagerTalk TV. And Ralph, I'm extra excited to know that the database has maybe found its way into the WNBA. You've got a WNBA game to talk about tonight. The late night game at 10 Eastern Friday night, Dallas at Los Angeles, Wings and Sparks. What are you looking at in this one?
I've only used 4 WNBA games so far this year. I will start deep diving more into the WNBA now that we're 10 games into the season. And this is a situation where, both teams are struggling. Dallas had lost 3 straight. They finally got off the schneid and beat Atlanta at home. The Sparks really struggling on the offensive end, 3 straight losses. I actually like Dallas in this game, and I like the under. Now, neither made my card, but they were both close. I look at Dallas. They're 2-6 over under their last 8. And when they are on the road, they have really struggled offensively. They've shot 40% in road games this year. The LA Sparks, the number 4 best defensive team. And you look at LA of late, 43.3%, 41.2%, and 37.1% shooting. 2 situations here in the WNBA. It doesn't get easier than this. If a team lost their last game as a home favorite and now they're at home again, they have played solid defense, excluding teams that are a home dog of 8 or more, those teams that are completely overmatched. This has been a 59% system. It doesn't get easier, and a 59% system in the WNBA. Plus, when a team like Dallas lost their last game as a home favorite, and now they're playing that opponent again, that has been a 58% play to the under. I think Dallas's defense has been playing much better. They allowed New York and LA 51 and 55% shooting, 2 of those 3 games. New York, the second best offense in the league behind Las Vegas, and the LA game, an anomaly. Both defenses pick up in this quick rematch from last week, under 165, and Dallas opened up as +1. They're now a -1 point favorite. Still happy to take them as well.
Ralph Michaels, strong information for the WNBA. Look at Dallas and under tonight. What do you have going for the clients over at WagerTalk.com today and this weekend?
Well, last 5% MLB total I had was July of 2022. So 11 months since that's come out. I've got an MLB 5% loaded on my card. Again, MLB totals, rarely find them, but this situation, a lot of value in the play, available for $35. And guys, just a reminder, football early birds are on everybody's page. Cheapest price ever. We also have a new GM special. You can pick one guy in the NFL and one guy in college football. Head to the deals page at WagerTalk and check that out.
Yeah, it's an awesome concept there at wagertalk.com. Football season right around the corner. Be sure to check that out. And once again, Ralph's releasing his first MLB 5% over-under in nearly 11 months. That's almost a full year. Might want to check that out tonight on Friday. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. And you have some baseball questions for me and Ralph, throw them in the chat, throw them in the comments below here on the replay. And don't forget to also throw in your handicapping betting strategy questions. We cover those on a daily basis here on Wager Talk Today. And one more note, a friend of the show, Andrew McGinnis, has a strong play going tonight. He wanted everyone to let everyone know about it. And I told Andrew I'd mentioned it here. He's got a 5% CFL play going. He's on a mere 14-6 CFL run, and it goes on Saturday. So if you're watching the replay, you still have time to get in on that strong CFL best bet from Andrew McGinnis on Saturday at wagertalk.com. All right, Teddy, we've talked some WNBA, some MLB. I just threw in CFL. I got an extra sport in by doing that plug for Andrew. Let's talk some poker as well. You know, as we all know, Teddy Covers wants to do everything the Prez does on a daily basis. The Prez flies to Vegas to play poker. We all know Teddy has to go play poker as well. So, Teddy, I want to know, have you made it to the poker room yet with the World Series in town?
I was there last night, and I'm going to talk about it. But it's got to be a story in story form. Look, I moved out to Vegas in 1998, and I didn't know if I was going to end up being a sports bettor or a poker player. I was doing both. Early on, I had more experience as a sports bettor, and I had more success as a sports bettor. And that's the direction that I went. And then, of course, the poker boom hit, and Moneymaker, and then won the WSOP, and all of a sudden there's weak players everywhere. And there was a stretch, 03, 04 till 08, 09. I was pretty good. I could win tournaments. I played in several main events. I won my way in. I was positive reputation in the cash games. Poker was good for me during those years. And then the economy died, and the weak players finally got filtered out. And I became a dad, and poker, not so much. And the key, in my mind, sitting down for a session. Optimal, you play till you no longer have an edge. You don't worry about time. You're sitting at the table, you're a rock at the table, and players come in and out, you're getting a read on all of them. Me, since my son was born, all right, let me check my watch. All right, I can play a couple rounds, then I got to get up, cash my chips in, and I got shit to do. I'm not the player I was. But all of my buddies, not all of my buddies, some of my buddies are playing in the senior event, Prez and many others. So I was down at the Horseshoe yesterday, and I sat down in a cash game. And this is how long, I didn't realize how long it had been since I played. The last session I remember playing, we all had masks on for COVID. So it had been a while. So I play a couple rounds around the table, and then there I am, checking to see what time it is. Played maybe 90 minutes. And I lost $60. My buddy was at the table with me. I lost it to him, and then he sloughed off 2 buy-ins in 5 minutes to the best player at the table besides him. So I couldn't even get it back from him. And I'm not a poker player anymore. I cashed in the senior event when I played it a few years back. but that's the exception, not the rule. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses. My weakness, I'm not taking enough time for me. That's not going to be the case this summer. This will be my last show until the second week of August, but we'll be leaving you in good hands with Merrill, with Lang, with Marco, with McGinnis if you need him, even with Prez. You'll be fine. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. That's what I learned last night, Steve. What about you?
So after last night, you decided to take the next 2 months off to play poker nonstop. That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, Teddy, poker is an example of a long grind, even more so than sports betting, and it's a huge time thing. Obviously it takes time to handicap games, to watch games, to recap, but poker is the ultimate grind. And even if you're skillful, you're not going to always win, right? Luck plays a big factor in the short term. So for me early on, it was a very easy decision just from a quality of life perspective. Even if online, if you want to play online, you can be online all day, 24/7. It's the same thing with day trading, in the financial markets. I take more of a long-term approach because I don't feel like looking at every click every day and being on the laptop. So yeah, quality of life factors in. If we all wanted to make more money, we could have 3 or 4 jobs, right? You could go work at McDonald's after you finish handicapping your games if you wanted to. So yeah, poker's a long grind. If you enjoy it, it's great. And I think Prez does enjoy it. I don't think he necessarily is doing it because he needs the money. He likes it. He has some free time as well. But yeah, for those out there that are thinking about being a full-time sports bettor, full-time poker player, might seem like fun at times, but it's work and it's a grind, and it's a quality of life decision as well. Teddy, do you think you'll play any more poker this year?
Sharp money's on the no.
Yeah, I was going to say, with football around the corner, probably not, right?
Yeah. Maybe. We'll see. I put certainly the over-under on future sessions in 2023, be over-under a half.
Got you. And once again, it's enjoyment. You were out there with a friend. It's the cost of enjoyment for a few hours, right? It's worth it. He might actually make a little something. Good stuff, though. We'll look forward to hearing how Prez has been doing. By the way, Teddy, have you heard how the Prez is doing?
Prez bagged the opening day of the senior event. So he's back for day 2 in the senior event today. He played other tournaments and has not fared as well, but I know he's in day 2 action. And that the cards are in the air in 35 minutes for day 2 of the senior event.
And if he does well, I'm sure the entire Twitter universe will hear as well in the near future. So we will definitely know sooner than later. The Prez in Vegas, beware. We're going to talk to Arthur DiCesare to see if he's called him out by name here in a little bit. But before we get to Arthur, going to get to Andy Lang, the prop master at WagerTalk.com. And do we have Andy? Is he ready? Is he recovered from having to host the show with you yesterday, Teddy? There he is. He slept all day and night after doing the show. Thanks for filling in yesterday, Andy. Always appreciate it. And we will definitely have you in a little bit more this summer. Teddy's going to take a well-deserved break, and Prez will be traveling as well. In the meantime, though, let's get to some prop action. Once again, Andy's at WagerTalk.com. He's a great way to diversify your betting portfolio, sports that we don't all cover on a daily basis. So what do you want to start with, Andy? Let's go look a little UFC. We got an event this weekend on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll start with Austin Lane versus Justin Tafa, and I like the underdog here. Austin Lane, he actually came from the NFL. He played for the Jacksonville Jaguars, decided to get into fighting. And even though he might be new to a lot of UFC watchers, this guy's fought 15 fights. He's 12-3, and he's fighting knockout artist Justin Tafa. And that's kind of my problem, is that's all Justin Tafa really has. He has a deadly strike, but you look at his knockouts, the guy's 3-3 in UFC. His 3 knockouts are arguably 3 of the worst heavyweights that the UFC has ever put out there. Parker Porter and Harry Hunsucker and Juan Adams. And I think Austin Lane is better than all of those guys. All 3 of Justin Tafa's wins have been by knockout in the first round. If it gets out of the first round, he loses. Austin Lane is one of these just naturally gifted athletes. His pure athleticism and raw power has gotten him wins. And he's a lot taller than Tafa. I think he's going to push forward. And as long as he can stay out of the way of that big one-shot knockout, he closes a distance and gets Tafa up against the fence. I think he can work takedowns. If he does get the fight on the ground, I think Tafa's in big trouble. Tafa weighs 20 pounds more than Austin Lane. I think you would think, well, bigger guy, he should have the advantage. I don't see it that way. I think Lane's athleticism and just his pure power is enough to keep Tafa on the ground. And like we talked about, if Tafa does not get the knockout in the first round, he loses some of that power, and he just cannot finish these guys, and he certainly isn't going to win by decision. His game is not that well-rounded. So you're getting Austin Lane at a really nice plus money price. It's around plus 150, plus 160. I really like his chances if Tafa doesn't get the knockout. Austin Lane should win by decision here.
Andy Lang says Austin Lane is a live dog. UFC action this weekend against Justin Tafa. Let's talk a little NFL. And this is a prop. You put it up, I'm like, of course. That makes perfect sense. That said, I do have one concern, but we'll save that for after. Cooper Kupp, 1,250 and a half receiving yards this year. Where are we going? Over or under with the LA Rams superstar?
Under is the only way you can possibly go in this one. Teddy, I've done some research on NFL coming into the season. You have probably dwarfed me in the amount of time that you spent. I think the Rams have the potential to be a disaster this year. A lot of it is health related. You have Cooper Kupp coming off of an injury, but honestly, his injury is not what I'm most concerned about. I'm concerned about Matthew Stafford's injury here. Elbow tendonitis, grade 1 concussion, spinal cord bruise. That was last year. That was just the injuries that he had last year. And they're not exactly deep at some of these positions. So after Stafford goes out, Cooper Kupp, in the game that Cooper Kupp got hurt, he was playing with John Wolford. And everyone remembers that Kupp got hurt. But in that game with Wolford, he had 3 catches for 5 yards. So there's a big drop-off from Stafford to Kupp. So you're asking Cooper Kupp to stay healthy for the whole year. You're asking Matthew Stafford to stay healthy for the whole year. And I don't want to bet on injuries to happen to guys, but the odds of those guys playing all the games enough for Cooper Kupp to have one of these amazing, incredible years. This number is way too high. Under is the only way to play. I really like this one. I think money will come in on the under once people start realizing everything that's going to need to happen in order for this to go over. So I don't trust Stafford, and I think because of that, Cooper Kupp comes under this total.
So, and Kupp has only gone over this total once in his 6 previous seasons. He's only gone over 1,000 yards twice in his 6 previous seasons. This one absolutely jumps off the page at me. But here's my concern. You worried about Cooper Kupp getting traded?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's a great one. Yes, I guess. I guess you could worry about Cooper Kupp being traded. Yeah, I don't know what is. I honestly had never even thought about him being traded. Yeah, he could be a pretty nice piece. You know, he's 30 years old, I believe. So certainly a team that's in win now mode would look for him. Yeah, if he gets traded, this bet could be toast. Absolutely. But for now, just assuming that he stays with the Rams, you got to play under.
Halloween afternoon, October 31st, 4 p.m. Eastern is the trade deadline for the NFL. Andy Lang loves a good Halloween, so that could be an eventful day. You're good after October 31st if he remains with the same team, right, Andy? Something to keep an eye on. Great follow-up there. And let's look at one more prop while we got you. We'll turn our attention now to a different sport here, and let's look at MLB. What's a prop for tonight on Friday in MLB, Andy?
Yeah, I was trying to go through. I really like this category. It's the hits plus runs plus RBIs. And so I really enjoy kind of researching this. Bryce Harper kind of has jumped off the page recently. Now, he did not go over this total in the last game. His total is 1.5, and you have to lay a little juice. So it's not a huge bet, but it is a sprinkle. We're going to take him over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Even though he missed it last game, he went over the total the previous 4 games. He's 11-5 to the over in his last 16. And he's hitting over 60% of the games this season. He's never faced the pitcher that he's facing today, Senga, but Senga's been shaky 2 out of the last 3 starts. He gave up 5 hits, 4 runs against Cardinals, 4 hits, 4 runs, and only 2 2/3 inning against Toronto. Mets bullpen, not great, 4.21 ERA. That's 10th worst in Major League Baseball. So minus 150 is where I'm seeing it right now. That's kind of my cutoff for these props. I don't like playing them over that. So I'll sprinkle just a little bit, hope to get a decent bounce back game from Harper. He very rarely goes under this total 2 games in a row. So Bryce Harper over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, I think is worth your look today.
Look for Bryce Harper to have a decent offensive game and get to 2 on those three categories combined. Andy Lang, great stuff. Let me ask you this. What do you have going tonight and this weekend over at WagerTalk.com?
Every Friday, do the same promo. Use the promo code ANDY3, ANDY3. It gets you a 3-day pass for $39. This has been working out great. Last weekend, we were up 12.1 units. The weekend before, 5.7 units. The weekend before that, 22.5 units. So we've been doing a lot of damage on the weekends. Really proud of all the work. We'll have a PFL play that is up tonight. We have UFC. Of course, we have the golf tournament and any MLB. So weekends have been really, really solid for us. We run this promo every single Friday. So just use the promo code Andy3. Gets a 3-day pass for $39.
That's Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com. And if you like the prop analysis, make sure you didn't miss the show earlier today at 10 a.m. Eastern on Friday. The replay is on WagerTalk TV right now. Prop it up. Andy was on along with Matt Josephs and Andrew McInnes as well. So check out the replay of Prop It Up from Friday. And don't forget about the baseball show at 2 o'clock Eastern here in about an hour and a half. Live version, then archived, of course, 24/7 with Drew Martin, Don Buster, Jeff Michaels, and myself, Steve Merrill, the baseball show on Friday afternoon. All right, Teddy, we got Arthur DiCesare right around the corner, risk supervisor at the Westgate Superbook in Las Vegas. But first, let's get to our BS segment, our better strategy segment. And once again, please submit questions, live chat, or even better in the comments on YouTube after the show on Wager Talk TV, and we will answer them every day here on the show. This is one that came in a couple days ago from Oven Fresh, and it's about playing underdogs. Doesn't specify with sport, but it really applies, I'd say, like, any sport, college football, pro football, basketball. Let's say you like an underdog, a +7 underdog. You think they're going to win the game outright. You're a $100 bettor. Do you bet all $100 on the money line at a nice plus money return? Do you take just the free, he says free 7 points, the +7 points, or do you split the bet? Teddy, I'll let you attack this first, and then I'll follow up.
I almost always split in these situations.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll split with depending on how confident I am in the dog winning. If I'm confident that the dog's going to win, I'll still put 2/3 of my wager plus the points and 1/3 on the money line. If I'm less confident, it'll be more like 3/4 of my wager plus the points, and then 1/4 of my wager on the money line. And for a bigger dog, it will be something like 4/5 of my wager plus the points, and 1/5 of my wager on the money line. That tends to be the spread, my ratio between when I'm more confident in the dog winning straight up versus when I'm less confident in the dog winning straight up. But I will have at least something on the money line for just about every underdog I play in basketball or football. So great question, Oven Fresh. And there's no right answer. All right, there really isn't. But my strategy has always been split the wager. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, I'd say the right answer, first of all, is to be consistent throughout the season. Decide ahead of time what your strategy is going to be so that you're not second-guessing yourself, right? So you don't want to try to pick your spots where you think, in my opinion, where you think a 7-point underdog is going to win outright. Because as Teddy knows, in the NFL, most dogs of less than 7, when they cover, they're going to win outright a large majority of the time. So that's another reason why we do play them on both the money line and the point spread. If you're looking for that quick score, you're going to take the +7. And by the way, it's not a free 7 points. I left it worded that way on purpose because I wanted to mention that you're laying $1.10 to win $1. So you're actually laying minus juice on those free 7 points as opposed to like a 2.5 or 3-to-1 return on the money line. And, so that's priced in just like the run line, money line difference is priced in baseball. But I like the half and half. Like you said, Teddy, you could stagger it a bit as you get to bigger dogs that are less likely to win outright because you're getting a bigger return. What I would recommend is, hey, look, if you're normally playing +7, you're playing to win 100, right? So you could stagger it so that you still win 100 overall with the half money line, half point spread. You would need a little less invested that way on a 6 or 7 point dog versus a 2 or 3 point dog. But Teddy, this is something you said you do both in basketball and football. Is this college and pro? Do you have any sports you don't do it in?
Well, I mean, baseball is all money lines. So
No, I'm talking about point spread sports. So, I mean, like college versus pro. Obviously, the NFL lines are a little more accurate than the college lines, probably.
Sure. So I'll do it more in NFL and NBA, okay, where the lines are tight. Absolutely. In terms of the percentage of my wager is higher. That said, in college sports, I'm putting something on the money line with my double-digit dogs that I don't necessarily do in the NBA or the NFL. In college sports, if I like a 14-point dog, I'm going to take a taste on the money line. I don't split 50-50 because I don't want to win my point spread bet, lose my money line bet, and end up washing for the night. I want to show a profit for that. So my ratios are never 50-50. I'm
Gotcha.
always taking more plus the points, because if my initial handicap was right and there was too many points, I want to show a profit for that, not a push. So, but that's my strategy. Everyone does it their own way. If we all did it the same way, there'd be no betting marketplace at all.
Yeah, real quick before we get to Arthur, Teddy, I want to point out too, this is about underdogs. I don't know if you agree or not. I do not recommend laying -2 or 300 on the 7-point favorite, for example. This is
Correct.
dogs only, correct?
100%. There are the times I lay in NFL or NBA, or in football or basketball, the times I'm laying more than 140 on the money line are few and far between. And basically the only money line with the favorite bets you're making there are short favorites. You think they're going to win the game. They're not. You don't expect them to. You don't want to worry about them winning by any kind of margin. But 140 is about as high as I'll go, and I rarely get that high in the NBA or NFL. 130 with my money lines. General.
Once again, and the research shows too. Most of the time, if a dog is less than 7 in the NFL, they have a good chance of winning outright. So you don't want to be laying 2-3 times more with that favorite, because if they don't cover, it's a good chance they're going to lose the game outright anyway. So it's something to keep an eye on with football around the corner and the NBA just a few months after that. All right, good question. Thank you, Evan Fresh. Once again, leave questions in the live chat. More importantly, in the comments below on YouTube. If you've left questions the past couple of weeks, we haven't gotten to them. Prez is a busy man. He misses the questions sometimes. Leave them again. And if we don't get to them on the show, I will answer them personally on YouTube. We love the comments, and we reply back and read all the questions as well. Arthur DiCesare is the risk supervisor at the Westgate in Las Vegas. And Art, I want to ask you numerous things, but let's transition in real quick. Your thoughts on money line versus point spread. What kind of action do you all get in the NFL? Is it more sharp bettors that are playing the underdog money lines versus the squares? How do you look at money lines versus point spreads?
Yeah, I would look at it like that, and I think Teddy made the great point. College, you see a lot of those upsets. And on a Saturday, you could have 65 games or whatever the number is. So you see a lot of times where people will take a shot with a money line underdog in college. Not saying they won't in the NFL. I know a lot of times, if the point spread is, I don't know, between pick and 3 or 4 in the NFL. I understand the key number, or the old key number of 3 in the NFL, but a lot of people would like to take a shot, like you said, Steve, on that NFL underdog, because they figure it's so tight, it's a close point spread. Let's take a shot with that money line underdog in the NFL, because we always say the professionals, and they come to play every Sunday. So you see a lot of that.
So, Arthur DiCesare, you're on now on Fridays instead of Wednesdays. Did you get a promotion over at the Westgate? What's going on over there right now? I hear you're moving up in the ranks. Why don't you brag for a minute?
I am moving up in the ranks. I am going to be working a lot earlier shifts. I'm going to be involved in a lot more things that we do early in the mornings, and, kind of getting, the markets for the day going and creating some markets, things of that nature. So it's not quote unquote a promotion, but it is essentially. It's not, my title hasn't changed, or what I'm doing really hasn't changed, but I am going to be a lot more involved in some things, which is great.
Arthur DiCesare being groomed for big things over at the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas, and he's moving up in the ranks. Now you'll be making the numbers, and when you talk about putting out numbers in the morning, that means you're making the numbers as opposed to managing the numbers. It's a different strategy and a different aura of responsibility for Art Dice 21, one of the best follows on Twitter. Art, we have Virgin college football numbers. Well, they're not Virgin anymore. They've been bet into now, but you had recently Virgin college football numbers for week 0 and week 1. And we're doing a potpourri of sports today. I wanted to ask you right off the top, college football, who are the wise guys pounding? Where's the action coming? Week 1, who are are the Joes making any bets yet in college football, or is it just entertainment value for them at this stage?
No, they are. We got both. I got a couple of games, both sharp and public. And, when I texted you about we had put college football numbers out, it's so great to see the board light up with football, especially college football. We've had NFL stuff up for a while. We have weeks 1 through 18. We have all the numbers, all the games. But to get week 0 and week 1 up in college football is awesome. Couple of sharp plays so far. Fresno State has taken a little money at Purdue. Sharps took 6.5. It's now 6. Tulane has taken money at home against South Alabama. Sharps laid 6.5. We're now at 7. And a couple of public plays on some double-digit touchdown favorites at home. Washington at home minus 14.5. That's a public play. I think people are just picking off a good number. At home against Boise, Penix is going to be a Heisman hopeful. Should have a really good season. And then UCLA at home minus 15.5. Once again, public kind of trying to pick off a better number than maybe some other places have. And UCLA minus the 15.5 at home against Coastal Carolina. So a couple of double-digit home favorites are public plays.
That tends to be the case in college football. How about you, Art? Have you done a lot of college football work yet? Have you done any college football? I'm sure you've done some. Who do you like week 1? Who stands out to Arthur DiCesare from the other side of the counter for week 1 in college football? And is there any game in particular where you're like, if you're going to bet this now? I got a feeling the line's going to move in the not too distant future. So 2 separate questions.
I don't know about if I think a line's going to move yet. I'm not there yet. I'm going to take, to me, what is the best game on the board, the FSU-LSU game. That's going to be basically the highlight of this early slate. They obviously played last year in New Orleans. That was a wacky game. Both teams have really high expectations. Both teams have really high Heisman hopefuls. Just throwing Jaden Daniels out there. We had him 25-1 to win the Heisman. He's now 12-1. He's been getting a lot of love in the Heisman market, and I like LSU this year. I like Brian Kelly. I like the quarterback. I think FSU is going to be really good too, but I think right now I would lean LSU in that game. So, I know it's going to be the most popular game, and there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have their eye on that, but it's a game that I did want to talk about. I think I'm pretty big on LSU this year.
And the loaded SEC as always. Be very interesting. Georgia, Alabama. And then, of course, you got LSU as well to keep an eye out for. It's Arthur DiCesare, risk supervisor as of now at the Superbook Sports on Twitter, and also at ArtDice21. I didn't know if I had to update your title, and I also didn't know if you switched from Wednesdays to Fridays, day off, so Prez maybe can't find you as easily this week. And once again, don't be afraid to go in and say hi to Art. Tell him you saw him here on WagerTalk TV, on WagerTalk Today. And as we all know, the louder you yell, the quicker he comes out. Art, give us some actual info here for today on Friday in MLB baseball, Major League Baseball, something you're looking at.
Sure, absolutely. A couple of public totals. Braves at Reds, we opened overnight 10.5. It's now 11. We've seen some over money come in there. Mariners, Orioles, it was 8 flat. We're now 8 over minus 125. Some public money there. The sharp money has come in on the Tigers today at home against the Twins. We were as high as minus 142 on the Twins, now minus 128. So about a 15-cent move there. Like I said, publics are on those overs, and the sharps are on the Tigers.
Well, let me ask you about the U.S. Open last weekend. How'd you guys fare? Did you guys make out all right? And how's the golf action coming in this summer?
Well, the golf action is great. And as you know, Teddy, we have some of the sharpest golf minds in the world sitting in that risk room. I mean, you just talk Jeff Sherman and you know a guy whose nickname is Golf Odds. You're going to get the best golf stuff in the world. But we have other guys, too, under him. Well, one of our top guys, Neil, is a great golf guy. So, and we put up everything. We're putting up DP. We're putting up the ladies. We're putting up the Corn Ferry. And then, obviously, when you have big tournaments like the U.S. Open, all the matchups, all the props. We did really well. Despite Wyndham Clark being 100-1, we were fine. A lot of those top guys like the Schefflers and the McIlroys, even if they win these tournaments, they're like 6, 7, 8-1. You really don't get killed. And you would think, oh no, Wyndham Clark's going to win at 101. Now, Ricky, who was as high as I think for us at 150-1, wouldn't have been as great, but Wyndham Clark was just fine for us.
All's well that ends well. And what about UFC? Obviously, when we talk about the summer months, it's not like UFC doesn't get a ton of play during football and basketball season. But for some reason, I think this time of year, it gets highlighted a little bit more. Maybe I just pay more attention to it at this time of year. How's the action at UFC? What are you guys taking down there for the big fights? And what's going on this weekend in that regard?
Teddy, I'm with you. I'm a guy who's really team sport oriented. And now when we just have baseball, even though baseball is my favorite and I love it, you're right. I start to focus a little bit more on UFC and some of the good boxing matches that will come out during the summer, because obviously we don't have that much. Even soccer is kind of, falling off a little bit, even though we have the women's, World Cup coming up here in a month, and we got Wimbledon in a couple weeks. So some of the smaller sports obviously take front and center stage. But yeah, we always have good stuff going on for the UFC. The bigger the card, the more props we'll offer. But, pretty much every week we're going to have, a good sized card offering a lot of things, offering props. We even offer some of the smaller stuff like Bellator and, Professional Fight League, PFL. So we always got stuff people like to bet the fights.
Arthur, along those lines, real quick, I mean, how much does having a WNBA team right around the corner there in Las Vegas help with WNBA action? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Do you guys get much handle there?
Well, it's hard to bet the Aces when they're, laying 20 on the road.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, we do. Steve, the WNBA market, I've seen the real growth in it, in my short, 5, 6, 7 years in the business. I've definitely seen the growth in it. You see a lot more played, I think, on the total, full game total, first half total, second half total, things of that nature, because obviously we're putting out halftime lines as well. We're not doing anything in-game wise over the counter yet, but, the Aces are very popular, and obviously this town right now is sports crazy with the Knights, and the Aces are obviously the defending champs and look like they're never going to lose a game and going to, do everything they're going to do. We're going to get the A's. So, we're a big-time sports town. So, yeah, people are fired up about the Aces.
Don't worry, the A's will cool off those winning ways pretty fast when they get to town from the A's. It'd be pretty sad when the WNBA team is more popular than an MLB team, but that might be the case, Teddy.
Just real quick, I had dinner last night with an extraordinarily knowledgeable friend, and he says the A's coming to town is still an underdog. He's like, it's no done deal yet.
Wow, yeah, it's not a done deal, but plus money? Wow.
This is someone, and I'm not going to name names, this is someone who knows things.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in any of these deals, especially real estate in general. It's not a done deal till it's done. So that doesn't shock me, but I still thought it was maybe more than 50%. But Teddy, not a total surprise. I'm definitely not counting them as a Las Vegas Athletics quite yet either. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's interesting. Arthur, football right around the corner. You guys going to have the 105 reduced juice again this fall. What else you got going on this summer, into the fall with football? Anything else at the Superbook at the Westgate?
Always, Steve. That's one of our staples. Thursdays offering the 105 side and totals. That's both college and pro. Superbook Super Contest sign-up start July 1st. That's right around the corner. Obviously, the Super Contest weekend is in mid-August. And, just a note on the Super Contest. We're upping the entries. It used to be 3 entries max. Now in the Super Contest, we're giving you 7. In the reboot, we're giving you 5. The gold winner take all is still going to be 1 entry, but a lot of stuff we're trying to, not change the format of the Super Contest, because Super Contest is what it is. Pick 5 games a week and, away you go. But we're trying to tweak some things to allow people to get more involved or whatever the case may be. And, a couple of things on the NFL, I know we touched on college, but a couple of over-unders that have been interesting to me that have kind of shot out to me. The Falcons have been like the hot team over this, last couple of weeks. We had a couple of groups come in and hit them on their season wins over, which was 8. We're now 8.5 minus 130. And then, not that we've taken money, but the Eagle number just keeps moving up. We opened at 10.5. It was very short at 10.5. We were at 11. Now we're at 11.5, and we 11.5 under minus 120. And Eagles and Chiefs now are both at 11.5 on the board. So we've just been moving with the market on that Eagles number, but the Eagles are now with the Chiefs, both 11.5.
Great stuff from Arthur DiCesare, talking college football, pro football right around the corner. Once again, you can follow him on Twitter at ArtDice21. Arthur, thank you so much. And Teddy, that's it for the show this week. Speaking of NFL wins reports, you might want to check out Teddy Covers right now at WagerTalk.com. Let's see if he's part of those sharp moves on the season win totals. You can get his season win total report right now on his page, a mere 97 and 47 since 2001, and also get his week 1 NFL best bet for just $1. 25 and 6, 81% the last 8 years. Maybe not a bad investment there, Teddy. Enjoy doing the show with you Friday. I'll be back on Monday, and Wager Talk Today is here all week long next week. Teddy, take us home for the weekend.
Yeah, and I'll be posting plays through the MLB All-Star break. After All-Star break, we'll take a little break where actually clearing our mind fully. But that said, this will be my last show on Wager Talk Today until the second week of August, but I'll be back. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy day to spend with Steve and I on Wager Talk Today. And Steve will be back with his co-host on Monday. Between now and then, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your wagers.